very critical of, because again, I'm 31 and how the hell do I see this? And you work for them and you have never questioned the history of Dr. Fauci. You have never questioned all of his suggestions over the years. Do you know his track record? Do you know all the things that this man has suggested that have not worked? Not recently. I'm talking about all the way back to the 1980s and 90s when he became one of the individuals who became America's doctor. You need to research the people who you work for and with so that you know that you may be a party to the destruction of your people unwittingly, unknowingly, unintentionally. And too many black folks help to destroy their own people and their culture. Mexicans, Jewish people, white people even help to destroy their own people without even knowing it, because they go along with a damn script that was pre-written by someone who does not have their better interest at hand.
So what is the purpose then? What is the purpose then of them worldwide and putting talking heads up for all of us then?
Absolutely. And I love this argument as well. This is why they don't like to have your brother on. There was an advisor to President Jimmy Carter by the name of Zbigniew Brzezinski. He stated that in earlier times, quote,
I just want to say, if you ever end up on Jeopardy, you win in that whole thing.
Zbigniew Brzezinski particularly said, quote, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than to physically kill 1 million people. But in today's time, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control, end quote. Global 2000 was authorized under President Jimmy Carter. In Global 2000, which is a government policy, you can go ahead and look this up. It specifies how to use food as a weapon and how to use reproductive services as a weapon. If you go back to Dr. Henry Kissinger in 1974, who was the 32nd Secretary of State under President Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, Chapter 6, he specified, quote, depopulation should be the highest priority.
All right. Welcome back.
Yes,
to another Star episode of Exquisite Conversations podcast, sponsored by Exquisite PR firm. The owner and the founder of both platforms is Miss Nicole Jordan. I am your co-host, King Jacob, and we're going to get into a very, 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 very heavy topic today. A topic that, I've always wondered about, and I've always, heard different things about it. And so, without further ado, we're going to let the guest introduce himself so you can get familiar with him at home while you're watching.
Well, thank you. My name is Kamess, Haki Butler. I have a master's degree in addiction science and counseling. I've been in this field for more than 35 years, working with families, youth throughout the state of New Jersey. And I enjoy the opportunity to be here tonight.
Okay, thank you. So, when people ask, who is the Elder Kamess?
Okay.
What type of answer is that, literally?
Well, for those who've been knowing me a long time, would have a lot of insight. But initially, when you see me, you're gonna be very inquisitive about who is this guy. Most of the time, 90% of the time, dressing African garb, and been dressing African garb for well over 20 years, as a respect to my ancestors and the people that we come from. So I wanted to uphold a tradition that was taken from us here in the diaspora of America. So part of who I am is, like I said, is people not perceive who I really am. I'm a person that cares about human life. I'm a person that cares about youth. I'm very passionate in working with youth, and that's been as far as go back from that. I was an adolescent, so I'm very passionate about helping people, and that's been my motto all my life. Regardless of the education I've received, the different places I've traveled, always been about helping people.
Okay, so what's so interesting about you is you have had a lot of education in the science, addiction, and counseling field, and just to get started, growing up, did you see a lot of people who face substance abuse?
Substance abuse was something that I saw growing up in the context of in my family. Men drank alcohol in my family, my uncles, but it was seen as from my eyes that as you become a man, it was okay to drink. The men in my family held down their jobs. They went to work every day. They provided or helped provide for their families. So I saw alcohol as not a problem. When I was about maybe 12, 13 years old, one of the first members to my knowledge, uh, a very dear uncle of mine passed away of cirrhosis of the liver. And I asked the question, what is cirrhosis of the liver? How do you get cirrhosis of the liver? And the answer was given to me from drinking alcohol. I was like, wow, I never knew that alcohol can have such devastation on us as individuals. So when I think about alcohol, and part of why my podcast even came to be was I wanted to shine the light on the impact of alcohol in my family first. It was shared with me that I've had some family members pass away of addiction of alcohol, and we didn't even know that it was a significant problem. Like I was growing up, we knew family members drink, but that was a manly thing to do. You worked hard. At the end of the week, you could drink. So that's how I saw addiction growing up in my family.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we have Big C out of Greenville, South Carolina, tapping in with us. Phenomenal Southern soul singer, man. Thanks for tapping in, family. We definitely appreciate you. So, growing up, you seen various things of addiction, and I'm pretty sure alcohol was not the only thing you seen, correct?
That was the only thing I seen with alcohol.
Okay. Cause with me growing up, man, I had some childhood friends. Some of some of they folks drink, but and I can remember when Big Daddy Kane came out with "Ain't No Half Stepping." I can remember that I knew people who I was going to school with that parents got hooked on crack cocaine, and I've seen grandmamas have to raise 4 or 5 kids. You know what I mean? Because the daughters was out there on those drugs, and so substance abuse comes in so many different shapes, fashions, and forms, and
Yes.
so that's why I asked that question.
Well, again, growing up in my immediate family with alcohol.
Okay, okay,
As I got older, yes. Did I see other addictions from other drugs? Yes. But in my family, it was alcohol.
okay, great. So now you went to school, you got a master's,
Yes.
and you know, um, I haven't met very many people who have a master's in what you have a master's in. You know, uh, uh, um, science, addiction, and counseling.
Right.
So, can you go in depth and explain to what that schooling is like? To obtain a master's and even through the undergrad and things of that nature, and some of the things that you really found out that you wasn't aware of by going to school.
Yes, I have no problem doing that. The undergrad was no exposure to the subject of alcohol/addiction. That was just part of a college thing that you did. You drank. You had fun. Even back then, in undergrad, the term alcoholic was not a term that was used. the term alcoholic was something definitely not used in my family. So once I graduated from undergrad and I got a job with the state of New Jersey, and was hired as a supervisor, working with adolescents, responsible primary coming in and out the criminal justice system for vandalism, car theft, some crimes on that end. But each person that I would talk to in the group homes that I worked in, they said that they was under the influence of alcohol when they stole cars, when they committed their crimes. But the model that I was being taught and responsible for helping the young men to correct this problem was focused on the criminality and their behavior, not were they under the influence of any drug when they committed these crimes. Therefore, that was the main focus in the push. But as time went on, I wanted to find out more about this. And I wasn't permitted on that job to focus on their addiction, or wasn't at the time wasn't addiction, their alcohol use, or just quote unquote getting high. So I stepped out of that job and took a major pay cut and went more human service to learn more about alcohol and addiction and how it affects people. And there, I obtained what's called an associate alcohol/drug counselor. I became a CPS, a certified prevention specialist, to learn more about how alcohol affects the individual. And alcohol itself is a mind, mood, also a substance. So when you look at that, you say, okay, these kids are very young, 15, 16 years old, not really knowing that it's a mind, mood, or something, but they knew, well, they felt that, hey, they put them more at ease, and they was more inclined to go out and steal a car or do a criminal activity when they was under the influence. So that right there made me want to learn more about the individual's behavior once they start using. And it was across the board, black, white, Latino, adolescents, but every person was under the influence when they committed a crime.
Oh wow! So you really touching base on the youth,
Yes.
the young generation, and so statistically, how many? What's the ratio of young teenagers that go through substance abuse when it comes to alcohol?
Well, the youngest age, in some of the studies that have done over the years and working with people, they start using between the age of 11, 12 years old. And some may be even younger than that, but most of the data show that between the age of 12 and 13, most adolescents will engage in some form of alcohol use when their parents have in their bars, parties at the homes, things of that nature. So the numbers are very high in that context. But you really have to look at how young adolescents start using alcohol.
Oh wow, that's deep, man. And when you're in these counseling sessions, or when you have a new cause, when I lived in Florida, I used to hire kids that was going through alcohol abuse, and I would have to talk to what they call a sponsor that would allow them to come and work the job. And they were like, but you would have to talk to my sponsor, give them the hours, because they had all this paperwork they had to fill out with the job, not just an application with the job or turning a resume, but guidelines they had to meet with the group home they was in. you know.
Right, right. Yeah, I
So
was a supervisor of one of the group homes in Jersey.
okay. So I definitely know what you're talking about. So as far as when you when you when you partake on a new client and whatnot, and how are those counseling sessions? How do they go, and what type of things do you kind of have to say to reach them? And I know every client could be different emotionally and mentally, but what type of conversations do you have to really get them to open up to you?
You start where they at, and first of all, you make sure you don't label the person. You give them an opportunity to just talk about why they use, what they like about it. And they start out like anything. It all starts out fun. It was something to do. Nobody really thought it was a problem. The adolescent didn't think it was a problem, and then it progressed. And along the way, yeah, they got in trouble again. They're having fun, so they don't see any major consequences. And that may take a while. If some may uh, have get alcohol poison. Now that's common amongst some teenagers and even our young adults when we go off to college, because anywhere from, say, if you start tasting alcohol, using alcohol between the age of 12, 13, sneaking it. Now you're 18, 19, you feel like you're grown, and you have some type more access to it, and that's become a social norm. You're not looking at how it's really affecting your body. You adolescents look at, they're young. This is what you're supposed to do when you're having fun. Some of the feedback that I've gotten from different youth. Hey, we're kids. This is how you have fun. So they're not looking at how it's affecting their kidney, their liver, their organs. And by the time they're 30, 35, they may have cirrhosis of the liver.
Oh wow. So wow, interesting. So we have tapping in with us Johnny O.C. Hopkins of Ward, South Carolina. Johnny is the manager and one of the singers of the gospel quartet group, the Hopkins Brothers. Salute to you, sir. And we have Little Terry out of Atlanta tapping in with us. He has a nonprofit organization that STEM for the youth, and he teaches them, entertainment, education, and how to become productive citizens with the emphasis on community development. So thank you guys for tapping in with us. Appreciate it. And so as far as it started off fun for the youth, and then it progresses. And so, would you say the alcohol affects their mental capacity, and also the alcohol affects their emotions?
Oh, 100%. Mental capacity in the context, cognitively, how they're thinking, decision making, putting them more at risk of the things that they're doing. So they're not, again. I saw by saying it's a mind, mood, altering substance. So they don't even look at what they're going through internally. They're paying that no attention. Yeah, they may throw up, but they're not saying, hey, my body, I'm really overdosing on alcohol. They just drank too much. No different than when maybe I saw my uncles and different people. They just had too much to drink. It's part of a norm. Uh, Adolescence. But what happens? The progression for many of them, it doesn't stop there with just alcohol. Now somebody going to bring, back then, which is now legal, they bring a little weed into the picture. Again, alcohol is a depressant. So it's affecting the central nervous system, affecting the neurotransmitters. They're not looking at any of those things, how affecting the serotonin in the brain, dopamine. They're not looking at any of those things, or how this is a drug.
Oh, okay, wow. And so when the kids come to you and you have a therapy session or a counseling session, and that stems from you having to really dig deep and talk to the parents and see how the parents feel about the situation, or see what the kids have learned from the parents. How does those conversations go with you and the parents?
Well, before I even get to the parents, I talk to the kids about how have you seen this in your home? It's a social norm. So from one extreme to the other, and times have been different. Some parents attitude as well. I'd rather for my son and his friends to drink at my house. So I take the keys and I know where they at.
Mm.
Not recognizing that you know where they're at, but you don't know how much they drank.
Right.
You don't know if anybody there uh, three beers or 3 shots is too much for him because he may have the predisposition gene. You're not even taking the fact in that, hey, they've been drinking and someone may have alcohol poisoning tonight. Somebody may go into the bathroom and not come out, and nobody check on them until it's too late. So, but parents, when it really comes down to it, no parent wants their son or any child that they care anything about to succumb to death through alcohol.
Right. And then why drinking alcohol, and we know, because I have some friends that would say to me, man, she called and told me she was pregnant, and I don't remember who she was. Man, we was drinking really heavy in the club, and we was just vibing, and I went home with her, and then I guess we had changed numbers, but I don't remember changing numbers with her. But here we are. You know, it's 2 months later, and she's calling me and telling me that she's pregnant, and I don't even know who she is.
And that's a common theme at a young age. High school students, like you just described, I'd had those same type of high school students sit in front of me and say and repeat just what you said.
Mm.
That I don't I I got a baby on the way, but I don't remember. I vaguely remember the night. And I had guys tell me I woke up and my pants were down to my ankles.
Hmm. Man,
But
that's deep. That's deep,
yeah,
man. That's deep, and the kids that maybe don't drink, but they come to a counseling session with their parents that's heavy drinkers. Dad might be an alcoholic. Have you experienced the emotions of those kids as well?
wow, yes, and it comes out in various ways when I'm teaching classes to younger kids. I mean, as young as 7, 8 years old. I never forget. I was teaching a class about just raising your awareness of alcohol. And one kid, more than one, but two brothers, start talking about how much their parents drink, and it. I was not aware, and that was definitely not my intention. But see, it creates a social norm. So if they see this in the home, and regardless of their parent, one or both, having problems, it's all too often that the child think, hey, this is how I want to have fun. I don't want those same consequences, but the drinking is a norm. I often ask adults, where did you first see uh, alcohol / drugs at? And they say in their families.
Mm.
That's all too often. And it's a rites of passage. It's a manhood thing. Like I said, oh, when you start drinking, now you're a man.
Right.
You know the term that we always heard. Oh, when a person drank too much, they may be they're going through withdrawals in terms of OD and drank too much. They say, well, oh, that person can't handle his liquor because he's throwing up. We all have heard that because he's throwing up because he can't handle his liquor.
Right.
And they don't look at, hey, if he wasn't throwing up, he might be dead. He might have went home, went to sleep, and didn't wake up.
So let's talk about the person that be so intoxicated of alcohol, the person didn't wake up, or they had to rush the person to the hospital because they couldn't wake him up,
right.
or wake her up. So, can you go into detail and through consuming so much alcohol, how that happens and how that affects your it affects your bloodstream, and it affects your breathing. It affects the oxygen to your lungs and to your heart and stuff like that. So
right. So what you're talking about is what I said. It's a depressant. So it affects your brain, all the neurotransmitters. So as the brain or the neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, release, what usually happens then is now you become more relaxed. Like I said, now your breathing slows down. All those, the euphoria, all those things that we're talking about, become, the alcohol has exacerbated everything. We see that all too often with many of our youth. They don't realize how much they're drinking.
Right. And they just had the high school prom here recently, from March up until last week, and I was telling my mother, I said, man, I really hope them babies be all right, because if I know anything about prom and senior week and stuff like that, it'd be tons of alcohol there.
Yes.
It was tons of alcohol there when I was in school, and so from the drinking, right, the mental capacity and the emotions, and cause drinking often sometimes can cause a domestic violence dispute, and
Yes.
so certain alcohols make people real mean, and so when they come and see you, what is those conversations of them being held accountable, or do they always run away from accountability?
Well, the accountability, when you talk about DV, domestic violence, that comes with a price. On every Sunday night, I run a domestic violence anger management group for adults. And I asked the question, was alcohol/drugs consumed at any point during or before your altercation that led to you to be now in front of me? And 90% or more of everyone that I have these here classes for say yes. And it got out of hand. And, some what we call beer muscles and confrontations that occur, whether it was domestic violence with a male-female heterosexual relationship, or it was a male-to-male or female-to-female. Go back to what I said. It's a mind, mood, also substance. Adolescents said, hey, when they did these crimes, they was under the influence. When many people get into confrontations, sometimes it escalates when you have been drinking. There's an increased chance that it is going to escalate when you're under the influence. And they have said they feel alcohol is one of the worst drugs. Even though we're being devastated today by xylophone and all that, they said, hey, well before that, alcohol has impacted them in so many ways. Right off the top, you got the DUIs, so you lose your license for X period of time. And what's the harsh part about everything? Alcohol is legal. At 21, is legal.
Mm-hmm.
There's in the what we say, in the hood, there's an alcohol beverage place on every corner.
Sometimes it's 2 or 3 in the hood.
Right.
I think that because I know a lot of functioning alcoholics.
Yes, I just did a class on functioning versus non-function.
Right, and so let's talk about the functioning alcoholic versus the non-functioning alcoholic.
Okay, the functioning alcoholic is sometimes that's you got function, then you got the highly function. The functioning alcoholic can go to work every day, maintain their job for a long period of time, and eventually it catch up with them. They'll get a DUI. But the highly functioning alcoholic, the same thing, but economically, it has more privileges than that low functioning alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that low functioning alcoholic. So you got to see that even the lower functioning alcoholic, the stereotype of that individual is what? Can't hold down the job, no education,
Right.
has a criminal background, all of those things. But now look at this highly functional alcoholic who driving the Lambo, who driving the latest Mercedes, living in the suburbs or community. How's that individual functioning? Over a period of time, it comes down to they both going to eventually get DWIs, but that highly functional alcoholic is going to look at that he or she is still better, a better person than that lower functioning alcoholic. So you got the functioning and the non-functioning. So the non-functioning, like I said, it comes with all the stereotypes. It's a stereotype assumption that that dysfunctional alcoholic, he must be a criminal, has a criminal background or some nature, has no vehicle, must be homeless. That's that type of alcoholic. But then you have that functioning alcoholic who go to work every day, is able to maintain a level of income to maintain his family for a period of time. But over a period of time, it catches up with you, regardless whether you are quote unquote the functioning, highly functioning, or the dysfunctional alcoholic. Your behavior is the same. The highly functioning alcoholic have better resources. They can go to better rehabs.
All right.
And that's whether you are come from a family who's economically affluent, regardless of your nationality. If you come from a family who's economically affluent, you're gonna go to a much better rehab than that person who comes from a lower income strata family. So even at adolescents, you go to the better quote unquote rehabs.
Right.
So now, if you're an adult, you're gonna have more resources. You're gonna go to a better quote unquote rehab. You say, well, what makes it better? Isn't all counselors the same? They're not. I believe I'm the hardest working counselor in my entire community, because regardless of my master, I study, I prepare, my preparation for all my groups. Whether I'm dealing with the functional, the non-functional, the 5 stages of change, I'm preparing. So each time I step in there in my office or I'm doing a session, I want to give my best. And all my clients know I'm giving my best. And they tell me, wow, we really appreciate you.
Right. Okay. So we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Yes.
And we'll be right back with the topic, substance abuse. Mainly, you were talking about alcohol and how it affects lives and how it affects the body. We'll be right back shortly.
Shout out to the men that just came home from jail and said no matter what the circumstances is, I'm never going back. Shout out to the men that said I'm tired of neglecting my children. I'm stepping up and being a man for my children, teaching them morals, honor, responsibility. Shout out to the men that say, you know what, I'm tired of sleeping on that couch. I'm tired of using my mother. I'm tired of using that girl. I'm going to step up and be a man for me. Shout out to the men that just graduated from college or going to college. Shout out to the men that graduated from trade school. Shout out to the men that say, yo, I'm just tired of being tired and I need to make a change. Shout out to the men that stayed there, that's raising their children. Shout out to the men that's getting married or want to stay married. Shout out to the men that's taking care of children that's not biologically theirs. Shout out to the men that's trying to figure it out. Shout out to the men because you are a beautiful soul. Shout out to the men that's just being a part of everybody's life to make a change, man. Stop the violence.
Shout out to my man from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, B. McFly. Brother's making an impact in the community, and he's trying to get the youth to understand that's growing up to be men, that you are important, that you are somebody that we need you in society. So shout out to him.
Yes, and shout out to that, say, the City of Brotherly Love, because I have Dr. Simmons coming on my podcast on the 18th, who's also going to talk about, because he worked in the emergency room for at least 10 years, and now he's in Atlanta, and he dealt with seeing the effect of substance abuse on a daily basis. So shout out to that brother.
No doubt, no doubt. So we was talking about the youth. So when you're counseling adults and they've been going through this alcohol substance abuse for years, 20 years or more,
yes,
what is the hardest obstacle for them to overcome?
It varies because they have repeated the same behavior over and over, and many have tried to get off, whether it's alcohol or other drugs. But we have something called, the stages of change, which you got the pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and then maintenance. So in that pre-contemplation and contemplation, you go back and forth until you get ready to really consciously, really want to make that change. And even when you make that change, life situation, circumstances, you have some called triggers, still may trigger you to keep you in that addiction for such, like you said, 20 years. But in the course of 20 years, you may have tried to stop 10, 12 or more times. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and you have to have a lot of support systems in place. You have to change your environment. Many have had to change their environment. They couldn't go back to the same people, places, and things. You have to have that support group, whether it's AA, NA, across the board. The church has played a major part in recovery and sobriety in the African Black community. Dr. Francis Boyd Franklin talks about that in one of her books, how the church has impacted. I had several guests on my podcast talk about how what was instilled in them as God being instilled in them at a young age, whether they listen or not, as the more they got out there, they gravitated back to that belief. And for many of them, from pastors to deacons, they said the church has been the foundation to continue to try to hold on, and holding on to God, to their understanding, it has made the difference in their life.
That's wonderful. That's great. That's wonderful, because everybody need their sacred place. Everybody need that safety net where they feel they're not in a judgmental zone. And so, a lot of times, your church family can help you do something that you may not even feel like you can talk to your immediate family about.
That is true. And I have many friends who said they tried AA. The foundation was there, but they wasn't ready yet. But they was ready to accept God and to their understanding of what they had been taught. And they said prayer makes a difference.
Mhm.
Those beliefs that we got as children is what they say they gravitated back to. Not that the fellowships didn't work. Well, before they ever picked up anything in their household, it was about prayer. It's about trust God.
Right. So let's talk about your podcast and why you decided to have a podcast and the level of awareness that you grow through your podcast.
Okay. Well, part of my reason for starting my podcast was to raise the awareness for many people that addiction, as we know, is still out here in all forms, but really to show the community at large that all my guests so far who have come on, who've been through addiction, they have their own business now. They're successful, and so from listening to their stories, that it'll give hope to those who don't believe that they can make it. That these individuals who tell their stories and how they went through it and got to where they're at now, it provide another outlet
Right.
and encouragement to other people who may come on or listening or maybe even be in the audience.
Okay.
So no matter what, and that's the name of my podcast, no matter what, just keep it Five Below. When you've done your best, ask God to help you do the rest. So no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, if you do your best to control the situation and not allow the situation to control you. And when you've done your best, look to God, to your understanding, to help you do the rest. And those different models, if you can do 1%, if you can drink, smoke, do your 1% less today than you did yesterday, that's progress.
That's right. Everything don't happen overnight, but if you stay steadfast and you just keep focused and remain focused and understand that you are enough and there's so much more in you, you know, that you can give to other people, impact the world, because experience is the first-hand teacher. And, once you've walked through that experience and stand on top of that experience, then you can help and inspire someone else.
Yes.
So if I can chime in really quick, right? I
Please
really,
do.
yes. Hi, my name is Tina. I am a business partner for Kamess, right? A friend, a business partner. And I want Kamess to drive home the point of the impact he has on his community, right? Because he is all about community. So, Kamesh, when discussing drug and alcohol problems, it's necessary to address some of the financial and legal concerns that come with addiction, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
so for the last 2 years, we've collaborated to help our community. We have provided financial counseling, legal assistance, insurance support, and resume services to our individuals in our community. So, Kamesh, if you could you please discuss how we handled some of those financial and legal challenges for the folks in our community?
Well, that whole thing, I asked a question to some of my clients that if you replace the amount of money that you spent on alcohol/drugs, I estimate how much of that would you say? And I had people tell me, look, I've spent enough money on alcohol/drugs that I can own a yacht, a house, and more.
Oh, my.
They said, and it's a big table in my office. I said, well, how much of money what you think? He said, the table wouldn't be able to hold the amount of money I would spend on alcohol/drugs. So again, we're talking about from as young as 12, 13 years old, Some of these here men are now 40s, 30s, 50s. So part of what Tina and I have tried to do was these individuals who have now been through those phases and more stable, ask them to take a look at how can they wisely now for the rest of their life spend their money, make investments, get life insurance. So if something happened in their life that their children or their wives are not looking, well, what can I do? I gotta now go on PayPal to get something to cover your funeral expenses. Tina has been very instrumental, and when I bring people forward who need these financial services.
Miss Tina is the financial coach, correct?
She's a lot more than a financial coach. She's a
Well, I mean, I
financial
was,
a financial advisor. But yes, we use the word coach, but she has an extensive background in finance, investments, and insurance.
Okay, great. So it's the key point. You just said something about preparing for their wives if something happens. So what I want to ask, based on the dialogue that we're having, how does a husband drinking so much affects a wife mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? From your opinion, being in the profession that you're in, from what you have seen by talking to some of the wives.
Wow. Emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Let's start with the finance. Financially, it affects being able to pay the bills on time or being able to even just pay the bills, because the amount of money that's being spent to consume alcohol / their drug of choice, they're always behind. They never have, say never, many times they don't have enough money to meet their financial obligation. But from a financial standpoint, if forget about if you got a son or daughter in college or even in school, you don't have enough money to provide the needs for your child in school, the different activities that your son or daughter may want to be in. You don't have the money to help further that, or your son may have to quit a sport, your daughter may have to quit an activity, can't go on a certain type trip because the finances are not there.
Right. So what we do is we just take an assessment of what the family is spending, right? We diagnose the problem, right? And then we provide a solution, right? On how I could put more money back into the house and how you can just realign your spending.
Okay. So do you guys have your own nonprofit as well?
I do have one.
Okay, so can you go in detail and talk about the nonprofit?
The nonprofit and for profit, and I say nonprofit and for profit because even though one is for profit, there's what we call a sliding scale. A sliding scale is based on what you can afford / your income that you have coming in. So if I set the sliding scale at $50 a session, opposed to $85 a session or $100 a session, if you can't afford that $50 cost of you're not making that kind of money, then I got to slide that even down to something you can afford. Okay, so that's where the nonprofit piece comes in at, in terms of it's a profit business for those who have, the different types of insurances, and insurance can pay for X amount of whether it's mental health / substance abuse treatment and grants and things that you get. So with the different grants and things that you get, you can then offset some of their costs for treatment.
Okay, great. Now, so as far as once you get them, sober, and you get them, on the program of, owning life again, because living in a world of alcoholism, that's a whole different world. But when you're sober, you have to regain your identity again. You got to fall in love with yourself all over again. And so once you get them to that point, is there another point that you have to get them, upbeat with their emotions and with their mental health.
Yes,
Because
you have to put a plan in place, and that support plan is still you're going somewhere for treatment. So you may have some support groups, whether NAA, whether it's another support group that you're actually going to for treatment, some community-based programs.
okay,
So you still have to keep all those things in mind because there's a thing called relapse. I'm not talking about the relapse of the triggers.
right,
So you have to put a plan in place, and all too often I talk about, so what's your plan today? What are you doing? So that some people say, now I'm looking for a job, actively looking. I'm calling places. I'm going places. That's very important. So that's part of the plan. What are you doing? Well, I do go to work every day. I don't people, place, and thing. I don't pick up the phone when I know why that person is calling me.
right.
I
So
don't go certain places where I know what's. We got Memorial Day weekend coming up. Here we are in May. Some of my individuals said, look, I can't go to my relative's house for the cookout.
right, yeah.
So I have to stay home and have my own cookout.
Because they know what's going to happen. It's been happening for years. Nothing has really changed. So, yeah, you have to
Right.
distance.
Because that environment is a trigger for some.
Right, right. Yeah, I can definitely understand that. So with that being said, as far as getting them on the right track, and you got them good emotionally, you got them good mentally, spirit, spiritually, they've got out their situation and they understand how much God really loves them. So, are there any of the people that you counsel, the people that you've helped over the years, do they become public speakers about alcoholism?
Well, usually at AA and NA meetings, they go that route. They get positions within those fellowships. So they may be a speaker some at another meeting.
Okay,
They become sponsors.
okay,
So
okay,
you get say 15, 20, 30 years clean time. Now you can become a sponsor.
okay, okay. Got it. So, Miss Tina, I would love for you to introduce yourself once again. Tell us about who you are. Tell us about what you do, and tell us why you're the real deal.
Because Kamesh says I'm a real deal. Um, my name is Tina Reeves. I live in New Jersey. I met Kamesh, what, maybe 2 years ago?
More than
As a
that now.
more than that now, right? As
Yeah.
a referral from a friend. I am a financial advisor, a financial coach. I educate first. I just take an assessment about your current finances, and I offer educate and I offer solutions. That's all I do.
Okay. Great. And so, I want to put it out there. Um, Financial literacy.
Yes.
It goes hand in hand when a person is going through, substance abuse, and when they trying to get on the right track, and when they trying to learn how to live again.
Hmm.
And so I did hear you say that you guys have programs and
Hmm.
stuff that you help with. So I just want to ask you one question while we're on here.
Sure.
Financial literacy in the Black community.
Is lacking.
Why?
Absolutely.
This is what I want to ask. Why didn't we have any classes? I'm from the South, so we had no classes on that. We had we the closest thing we had to a class on financial literacy, and it wasn't financial literacy. It was governmental economics.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the closest thing, but that ain't really tell you much about financial literacy. Like in stemming from Black and brown people in our communities,
Hmm.
financial literacy is very important. And it wasn't told us, wasn't explained to us. We didn't learn anything. I feel like I shouldn't have to learn about an LLC or S corp or C corp or a corporation or a nonprofit when I got grown. I feel like I should have learned that at 15 or 16 in school.
Absolutely. And I have the perfect answer for you. It's because when we go through the school system, high school and college, they want us as the best employees.
Right,
They don't want us as entrepreneurs, right?
right.
So what they did was they stripped the financial education part of it out of the school system. Now, I'm a graduate from Seton Hall University in New Jersey, right?
Hmm.
I have a business degree,
Hmm.
a bachelor's in business. But some of the financial concepts that I know now as a 40-something-year-old is because I I found the education. I didn't learn it in college.
Right,
Now I'm licensed in multiple states in insurance. I'm licensed in investments. I'm licensed in senior and healthcare, right? I have multiple licenses. I had to seek out the education, but once I educated myself, it is now my duty to educate my community so they don't make the same mistakes that I made. I want
right.
them to learn it faster. I want the children to learn it faster, right? I want my
Of course.
child to be an entrepreneur.
Of course.
I don't want her to be an employee. Yeah, I do have a regular job. I've been at my corporate job for over 16 years, right? But I'm making someone else rich. I'm making all the CEOs and the VPs, I'm making all them rich. But on the side, I run my, financial services business, which is for
Right,
myself and my family, which is for Kamesh's family.
right,
So
right,
we
right.
are business owners, putting the money back into our families and our community. So that's my goal.
Okay, okay, okay. Good, good, good enough. We're almost out of time, so I would like both of you guys to give out your social media handles and tell us what you have coming up on the calendar date, and then we can close out.
Kamesh, go ahead.
Yes. Well, on May 18th, we have Dr. Matthew Simmons will be coming on to educate the community about xylophenol and fentanyl, the
Mhm.
devastating drug that is devastating not just America, but also Canada and many other communities and countries. And definitely is affecting the Black community significantly, but it's underscored significantly as well. So you can find us on No Matter What, Just Keep It File Below, in the platform of YouTube
Okay,
on May 18th,
May 18th. Okay, okay. And what time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay, okay. Miss T.
Okay. And for myself, you can either reach me through Kamesh or you can reach me through my Facebook page, right? Which is tina.marie.maverick. And again, what we do for our community, we help with financial counseling, we help with legal assistance, insurance support, and resume services, right? We want to be able to get our people back into the workforce as soon as possible. And having a strong resume in place will definitely put you a step ahead of the game. So again, on Facebook is tina.marie.maverick, or you can reach me through Kamesh.
All right, all right. You heard it first. The Chatterbox with King Jacob. I want to thank everybody for tapping in with us that tuned in, and I want to give a shout out to MJ for really plugging this interview. Salute to you.
MJ, MJ,
Yes,
MJ, we thank
yes,
you.
yes, yes, yes. Salute to her, and salute to the Village Global Network. This is powered by the Village Global Network, and that's a part of my team, the Village Global Network, and owned by Exquisite PR firm, which MJ is connected with me through the Village Global Network. So I definitely want to thank her for all that she does. So, and thank you guys for coming on and chopping up with me. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon again. In the near future.
Yes, we look forward to that too.
All
Same
right,
here.
have a wonderful night.
Thank you so
You too
much.
now. Thank you.
All right.